I'll never forget the day my son Ethan came to me, his eyes clouded with uncertainty. It wasn't just a bad mood or a rough day at school. As his mother, I've seen him through plenty of those. But this was different. There was something deeper behind his silence, something personal he didn't know how to express. I could feel it in how he hovered in the doorway, unsure whether to speak or walk away. As a single mother, I've always worked hard to keep our bond strong. Ethan and I talk about everything, from silly memes to serious questions about life. But this time, I sensed he was carrying a burden that had been building for a while, something that went beyond what he thought he could handle on his own. It all started not long after his 14th birthday. He had grown taller almost overnight, his limbs lanky and unsure of themselves. His voice began to crack at odd moments, and a shadow of peach fuzz appeared on his upper lip. Puberty had arrived in full force, bringing with it all the awkwardness and confusion I had been mentally preparing myself to support him through. But nothing could have prepared me for the conversation that followed. That evening, I was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner when Ethan wandered in and leaned against the counter. He was quiet for a while, then said barely above a whisper, "Mom, can we talk about something? It's kinda weird." I turned off the stove and put the knife down immediately. "Of course," I said, giving him my full attention. "You can always talk to me." He looked down at his feet, shifting his weight nervously. "It's about me, my body. I think something's wrong with me." My heart skipped. I knelt slightly so I could see his face. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" His cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I think I'm too small. You know, down there." For a moment, there was only silence. I could tell how hard it was for him to say those words out loud. This wasn't just physical, it was emotional, tangled in fear and shame. I took a deep breath and reached for calm. "Thank you for telling me," I said softly. "That takes a lot of courage." "I didn't want to," he admitted, "but it's been bothering me for months. Some guys in the locker room were joking about size, and I just felt really embarrassed." I walked over and gently hugged him. To my surprise, he didn't pull away. Normally, he would have. He stood there in my arms, vulnerable and scared. "Ethan, it's completely normal to feel insecure during puberty," I said. "Your body is still growing. Everyone develops at a different pace. You're not behind. You're just you. And that's okay. But what if I never catch up?" he whispered. "You will. I promise. Your body is growing exactly how it's supposed to. And none of those boys know what they're talking about. Most of them are probably scared too, even if they won't admit it." I knew, though, that words alone wouldn't be enough to make him feel secure. He needed more than reassurance. He needed understanding, facts, empathy. That night, after he went to bed, I stayed up doing research. I read articles from pediatricians and child psychologists. I learned that this kind of anxiety is incredibly common among teenage boys, especially now with so much unrealistic content online shaping their expectations. I found a few reliable, age-appropriate resources, a short video, a few articles, and bookmarked them. The next day, I knocked on his bedroom door. "Mind if I come in?" I asked. He nodded, putting his phone aside. I sat next to him and said, "I looked into what we talked about last night. I found a few things I think might help." We watched the video together. It featured a young doctor explaining that male anatomy varies widely, that media often distorts what's considered normal, and that boys are often misled by peer pressure or misinformation. The video also emphasized qualities like emotional intelligence, kindness, and confidence, traits that truly matter as people grow. Ethan was quiet, but I saw the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. "So, I'm not weird?" he asked. "Not at all," I said. "You're completely normal, and more than that, you're an amazing person. That's what matters in the end, not what someone says in a locker room." Still, I wanted to do more. That weekend, I arranged a checkup with our family doctor, Dr. Mitchell, someone Ethan had known for years and trusted. I waited outside the exam room while they talked privately. Later, Ethan told me the doctor had echoed everything I had said, but hearing it from a medical professional made a real difference. Dr. Mitchell even shared stories of other boys who had come in with the same concern. Ethan realized he wasn't alone. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small changes. Ethan began smiling more. He rejoined the basketball team, a sport he had recently abandoned. He started sketching again, something he had a real talent for. I watched him rediscover parts of himself that insecurity had buried. Then, one morning, while I was driving him to school, he turned to me and said, "Thanks for not laughing at me, Mom. I was so scared you'd think I was being silly." "You're never silly for having feelings," I said. "And I'll always be here to listen." As we pulled into the school parking lot, I noticed how he walked a little taller. His steps were lighter. That small moment, his vulnerability, my listening, and our shared trust had shifted something profound. That night, I sat down with my journal and wrote, "Today, my son reminded me that even the strongest, bravest people can feel small sometimes, and that sometimes all it takes to help someone is to listen with love and without judgment." In the months that followed, Ethan continued to grow, not just in height, but in confidence. He joined the art club at school and submitted one of his pieces to a student competition. He won second place. I could see the boy who once hid behind self-doubt, transforming into someone who was beginning to believe in himself. What touched me most was what he did next. He started volunteering at a local youth group. He wasn't leading any big talks, but he was there, listening, encouraging, sharing quiet words with younger boys going through similar transitions. He didn't speak directly about his own experience, but his empathy was unmistakable. One evening, as we were watching a movie, he turned to me and said, "You know, I think I want to become a counselor one day, like for teens." I turned to him with a smile. "That would be amazing. You'd be so good at that." "Yeah," he said. "I think if I had someone like that to talk to earlier, maybe I wouldn't have felt so bad. I want to be that person for someone else." And in that moment, I saw it. My boy, once shy and unsure, was growing into a young man with heart, compassion, and a desire to help others. In a world that often tells boys to be tough, to bottle things up, to push past emotion, Ethan found his strength in opening up, and I found the deep, quiet joy of simply listening, of being the person he could trust when he felt most alone. That, more than anything, is what helped him begin to love himself for who he is.